Recently, I have asked AI about top 60 concepts in self-help and it gave me an answer. And in this video, I'm going to discuss about each and every concept in this 60 list in an impromptu way. And let's get started. Now, coming to the first concept, self-awareness. Now, what does self-awareness means? It means to be aware of what you are doing in the present moment, your thoughts, your actions, your beliefs, everything about yourself. Now, why is self-awareness so important? It is so important because let's say there are two people. They are in a similar situation with the similar resources. If a person knows what he wants from his life, then he can focus on the activities and accelerate his growth. And if the other person don't know about what he wants from his life, then he can't move towards that direction which will accelerate his growth. In the similar way, if we are self-aware about our needs, about our beliefs, about our thoughts, about our strengths and weaknesses, then we can make a better decision in our life. To achieve anything meaningful in our life, we need to focus on that specific set of action and we need to do them consistently. In other words, we need to face boredom in our daily life. And if we face boredom, then we can't enjoy that stimulation we get from comforts in our daily life. And to overcome this situation and to handle boredom in a better way, we need to be mindful about our current situation and focus on the thing in front of us so that we can give our 100% focus on that specific activity and it gets done in a better way. And after doing that activity, we need to be mindful about the other activities we need to accomplish. And in our daily life, even if we have less or no stimulation, we can move forward and focus on those simple aspects in our life by being mindful. Let's say a person is in a very difficult situation and instead of complaining about his life events, if he accepted the situation and focused on what he can do right now to make the situation better, then he will be in a better situation in the coming future. In the similar way, if we are positive about our life, then we can focus on the things we can do right now to make our life 1% better. In order to make our life better in every way possible, we need to overcome those certain beliefs in our mindset which are impacting our growth potential. In other words, we need to go beyond that fixed mindset and beliefs so that we can rise higher towards that better version of ourselves. In other words, we need to have a growth mindset which will make us see things we can't see in our daily life so that we can take those few steps every day towards a better situation which will make our life better than yesterday. Let's imagine a ship which is sailing throughout the sea and the problem is it doesn't know about its destination. And if the ship doesn't know about its destination, it can't reach its place. In the similar way, in our daily lives, if we don't know where we are going, then we can't reach our final destination. In this situation, we need to have a clear understanding about our end goal, and we need to set goals that will help us to accelerate towards our destination. And that goals may be smart goals, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound, so that we can achieve those goals in that certain time frame, which will accelerate our progress. And in other words, we can get things done to make our life move towards that certain destination. Even if you have a very big goal in your life, it doesn't matter if our daily actions are not aligned with that long term goal. In our daily life, we are doing a lot of activities, big or small. We are thinking those certain thoughts, and if we are taking those actionable steps daily, that will help us to move towards that goal, then we can reach our destination. Let's say you want to practice guitar and you have set a goal of 1,000 hours practice time, and instead of focusing on other activities, you are focused on spending 1 hour each day on learning how to practice guitar, and you are doing it consistently for 1,000 days, then it has become a daily habit which will help you to move towards your goal. In the similar way, if we have a certain goal in our life, if our daily actions are in a way that if we complete them regularly every day, those actions combined will help us to move towards that big goal in our life. In our daily life, to have a little bit of hope, even if a person is in a very difficult situation, we can practice gratitude. Now, what is the advantage of practicing gratitude? It will help us to see those things in our life we take for granted, so that we can be thankful about them in our daily life. And by being thankful, we can improve our vibrations so that we can see other things we are thankful about, and those things add up, and finally we can see a lot of positivity in our life and abundance, so that our perception about our life will improve, so that our actions, daily actions, will also move towards a positive effect. What makes a winner and what makes a loser? In our daily life, failures and setbacks are a lot common, even for winners. But how do they win even if they have those failures and setbacks similar to losers? The answer is resilience. They are having that certain attitude about themselves that even if a very difficult situation, a difficult problem arises, they are in a position, in a mindset that they can face the challenge head on and overcome that situation to achieve their goals in their life. And due to this resilience nature, it doesn't matter how difficult the situation they are in right now, they will find a way to make a quickest comeback possible and to move towards their goals in their life. Reading books for 30 minutes is easy. Working on your project for 1 hour is easy. Exercising for 15 minutes is easy, but what is hard? Doing the same thing consistently every day. Reading every day is hard. Working on yourself every day is hard. Focusing on that specific activities every day, even if you are facing a lot of distractions and problems in your life, is hard. And if we have this self discipline to prioritize what is important in our life and form habits so that we are doing them regularly in our life, will help us to move towards a better situation. Everyone has 24 hours in their daily life. Nobody has 23 hours or 25 hours in their life. Now, why do some people succeed and why do other people fail? The answer depends upon how they use their time wisely, how they manage their time. Even if there are a lot of activities in our to-do lists, if we can focus on that specific set of activities we need to get accomplished in that certain day, and if we are focusing on the priorities in our life each and every day, then we can make substantial progress which will help us to accelerate in our daily life. In other words, we need to manage our time in a way that we can get the most important work accomplished in a less time, so that we can make progress, a lot of progress in our life and work. Right now, there are a lot of things happening in our world, things that we are mostly unaware about, and that creates a lot of information which is being increased each and every second. And consuming that information is literally impossible. But if we can regularly learn something new every day, and if we can apply that concepts in our daily life to make our life a little bit better, then we can move towards a better life situation. Let's say you are focusing on some specific activity. If you are regularly and constantly learning about that activity, such as exercise and making your body fit, and you are applying the concepts in your daily life so that your health is a little bit better, your body is moving towards a better shape and form, and if you constantly do that every day of your life without stopping, then you will see tremendous results in your life on that certain area which you are focusing on. What makes leader a leader? What differentiates between the leader and the common person? It depends upon how we manages himself primarily, and how we can take care of things in his plate. Now let's focus on managing himself. That includes the emotions he or she is going through every day. There is a certain quote I have read, and that quote goes like this: if you can't control yourself, how can you control the people beside you? If you can't even control your emotions, how can you call how can you be called as a leader who can control others I mean in a positive way. If the people don't know where they need to focus on, everything will be in a pure chaos. If the leader knows what needs to be done, then he can lead other people towards that certain future. But in the first place, if the leader doesn't know how to control and manage his emotions, then how can he lead the other people effectively? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if we are focusing on a specific activity by giving it 100% of our time, energy, and resources if there are no results. And to get results, one of the way is to seek feedback from the public or your target audience. And if you have the right feedback and if you make changes based on the feedback, then there is a little higher chance of letting your work make progress. To make substantial progress in our life and in our work life, we need to be accountable. We need to be accountable about the progress we are responsible for in the certain aspect we took upon ourselves. Let's say you're working on a project and you're responsible for a certain task that needs to be completed in a deadline. In other words, you're accountable to other people in your team about that task. You're accountable about completing that task within the certain time frame. To make a substantial progress in our daily life, we need to take a few actionable steps every day, and that includes getting out of our comfort zone. And what does it means to get out of comfort zone? In our comfort zone, we are focusing on spending our time with predictable activities that will make us comfortable. And to become comfortable, we are avoiding those certain activities which will help us to move towards a better life situation. To achieving our goals, we need to take those choices to make our life 1% better every day. So to achieve that specific goals, we need to take actionable steps. They may be waking up early and going for a run, exercising, going to sleep early, spending time with growth mindset people, focusing on activities which will help you to accelerate in your life goals. Do you know the difference between a successful person and the person who fails? It depends upon how they handle failures and adversities. During the phase of failure, if a person can learn from it and not repeat the same mistake twice and seek feedback from what went wrong and continue in his or her journey, it doesn't matter if they meet with 8 and other failures in their coming future. If they are constantly learning and adapting and taking feedback, then today or tomorrow they will succeed. But if the person who is not learning from their mistakes and not taking feedback and just quitting in the face of failure, then there is no future for them. Because if we are not seeking feedback and embracing failure, we can't make progress in our life. Because in any area of our life, failure is inevitable. Now, what matters is how we can deal with it. in our daily life, to make substantial progress, we need to focus on solutions, not problems. What do I mean by this is, even if we have 100 problems, if we can solve a single problem, then we can move towards a situation where that problem is irrelevant. Now, let's say if we solved the 99 other problems, then we can have less problems, or the ability to solve problems. In other words, we need to be solution oriented instead of problems oriented in our life to make progress. Even if we are achieving a lot of goals, ambitions, money, public response, it doesn't matter if we can't take care of ourselves. Most people are focusing on work, work, work in such a way that they can't sleep better. They are not taking care about their body, about their health. Now, what do I mean by this is, we can focus on our work 100 hours every week. We can do those activities. However, we need to prioritize our self care so that we can make or do that actions in our daily life for a long period of time without the degradation of our personal care. To prioritize in our life, we need to set boundaries with ourselves, with the people we are surrounded by, because if we are working on something important and somebody interrupts us, then our whole focus will be gone. And to get to the same level of focus, we need to spend at least 20-25 minutes of uninterrupted time on that certain activity. In the similar way, in any area of your life, if we are setting boundaries, healthy boundaries, then we can take care of our priorities, and we can have a healthy conversation, healthy relationship with the other people. Instead of holding grudges or feeling angry towards the other people, if we just simply forgive them, then we can save our mental peace, energy, and our thoughts can be focused on productive activities. And if we are forgiving in nature instead of holding grudges, then we can move towards a better situation. It doesn't matter if it is the other person who made a mistake, or even if you can't forgive yourself about what happened, because how much you think doesn't matter, because what has happened. You need to focus on what you can do next. And holding grudges and thinking about past will only take your time away from the activities that you need to work on right now. To make progress in our life, there is one activity you can do every day, and that is reflections and introspection. Reflecting upon your thoughts, action, beliefs, what are you doing daily, so that you can introspect on that specific actions and thoughts, and think through things and move your life towards better ways by changing your thoughts, beliefs, and actions. At the end of every day, if we took some time, let's say 5, 10, 15 minutes, and wrote down our thoughts about what happened today, then we can have a reflective analysis on our day-to-day life events. And journaling helps us to become a better person by making us reflect upon our thoughts and actions. To be creative in our life or work, we need to focus on visualizing. In other words, if we can spend our time by closing our eyes and just observing what is happening in our minds and thoughts, then we can imagine those certain things which will help us, or go through those experiences which are not possible in our daily life. Visualization helps us to focus on seeing something different, something unique from what we are seeing in our daily life. Let's say there is a conflict that has been happened recently, and instead of focusing on what happened or overindulging on emotions, if you are assertive, then you can think about what happened in a rational way, so that you can stay on your ground and deal things in a focused and rational way. And by being assertive about your communications, you can deal about those things and fix those misunderstandings in a calm and diplomatic way. To solve the social problems in our life and to understand the other person in front of us, instead of talking and talking, if we just listen to the other person and focus on what he or she wants to say, then we can understand the other person's point of view, which will widen our horizons towards thinking a different point of view, which will help us to communicate in a better way. And by listening to the other person's words, he or she will also feel important that this person is truly listening to me. They are prioritizing my opinions and thoughts. And you can also form a positive interaction with the other person by listening in a mindful way. Let's say you're working on something important, and you can go in either of the two ways. The first way is iteration after iteration. You will go through hundreds of ways, hundreds of methods, and you can pick one thing after iterating for hundreds of times. Or you can just try to make one thing which is very perfect. Now, in these two situations, what is a better way? In most instances, focusing on making more things is better than focusing on perfecting that one thing in most instances. Why? Because if we are going through that hundreds of iterations, then we can know what is good and what is bad, what is better for this specific situation, and you can have dozens of options to pick from. And this is the advantage of doing things even if it is not perfect. To overcome procrastination, you need to just do one thing, just one thing, and that thing is you need to act right now, irrelevant of what you are doing. If you know that you are procrastinating and you're telling yourself that just 5 minutes more, just 2 minutes more, just 10 minutes more, then that 5-10 minutes will also be gone, and after that time you will also procrastinate, because it happened to me. And I know that sometimes I am saying to myself that I am scrolling through social media, just 5 minutes more I will complete and work on something important. It is not happening, my friend, because after a certain time you will see the time and you will realize that 30 minutes have gone, 1 hour has gone. So instead of procrastinating about important things, if you can focus on accomplishing them and starting right now, then you will complete a lot of activities before you realize. In most of the situations, work is a team sport. It doesn't matter even if you are a best performer in your work, you can't do it all alone. You need to seek other people's help to get it accomplished. Because even if you are working alone, it takes you a lot of time, focus, energy, and effort to complete a small, tiny activity. But however, if you are seeking help from the other people and you are forming a team, or seeking help from mentors and people who are more experienced than you, then you can get more things accomplished in your work life, and you can accelerate your progress towards your goals. Even if tomorrow is way similar to today, there will be a day where things will change. And if you know how to accept and face uncertainty and change, then you will grow a lot faster than the other people who are stuck in the past ways of doing things. By this, I mean, let's say AI. In AI world, there are new chatbots and new ways of doing things are appearing each and every day. If we are just using similar tools we used 6 months ago, then we are not catching up with the current reality. And to accelerate our progress in our work, we need to be aligned with the current change so that we can apply the most important concepts in our daily life based on the change, so that we can move in a fast way. In our daily life, most of us are working in a way that we are sitting most of the time. And to live a healthy life, we need to regularly move our body, do exercises, lift weights, walking, running, or doing some type of activities that will help us to move our body regularly and constantly throughout the day. And by making this lifestyle change, you will move towards a better life where you can lead a happy and healthy life. One of the ways you can develop intellectually and in any area possible is reading books. Now, what do I mean by reading books? It means learning about things constantly in a way that, let's say you are reading 100 pages. Even if you are not applying those 100 pages in your life, you can at least apply one page or one line you have learned from it. And even if it is not relevant for your life, in the present moment, it may help you in the future instance or situation. In the similar way, if we are learning something new each and every day based upon our interests, and if we are applying those concepts in our daily life, then we can use our knowledge to make our life and the people we are surrounded by a little bit better. To live a healthy life, we need to make sure to eat healthy food, and that includes having healthy, nutritious foods. And if we have nutrition, proteins, and those basic essential components which are necessary for our growth, development, and maintenance of our body, then we can make our body perform in a harmonious way, and we can live a healthy life. That means by eating healthy food and avoiding junk foods, we can have a constant energy inputs, and we can have a dependable body which will help us during crisis situations like infecting with bacteria, viruses. And if we have a healthy body, then by eating healthy and nutritious food, we can make our body healthy. To perform in an efficient way possible every day, we need to do one thing in a right way, and that is having quality sleep. And now, what do I mean by having quality sleep is, it means sleeping in a way without any interruptions and having that deep sleep so that your body will recover and gain its energy, and your body, muscles, your brain, and each and every organ of your body will have time to rest and regenerate, so that when you woke up, you can have a fresh feeling and challenge the activities that you have right now. And that energy is only possible when you have deep sleep the previous night. Sleep is a very important activity in our daily life, because our energy levels of tomorrow will be decided by how deep we sleep today. To have a calm mind and to focus on activities, we can do one thing about our environment, and that is decluttering it. By reducing the items in our environment and just focusing on living a simple life without any clutter, we can have a clear environment, and that will also reduce the clutter in our main brains and reduce that overthinking effect, so that we can focus on what is most important in our daily life. And in this other ways, our environment will impact how we live our life. If we have a cluttered environment, then it will directly or indirectly impact how we work and perform. And if we have a clear and a simple environment with a minimalistic items, then we can focus on the essential concepts and tasks in our life. To feel included in our society and to be included, we need to perform activities with the whole society, where the each and every person will come together and focus on spending their time on a collaborative activity, and that includes a kind of a festival or even a kind of a volunteering work, where you will help to clean the society, to plant trees, and those volunteering works will help you to develop the bonds between you and the society you live in our digital age where most of the things are just one tap away. We need to focus on developing our patience levels, because any kind of meaningful thing in our life takes time. That includes having a healthy body, earning money, living in a better life situation, developing relationships, developing any kind of skills. They all take time. And that time takes a lot of our time in our daily life. So, in other words, we need to go beyond that expectation levels of getting everything fastly. If we have the patience levels to focus on that small actionable steps, even if things take time, then the fruits will be a lot better, and tasting them will also give us a better feeling. In our daily life, everyone has 24 hours, but each and every one of us are spending those 24 hours differently, and that depends upon our priorities. A school student or college student will focus on studies. A young person will focus on earning money. Old people will focus on spending time with younger ones, spending time with small children, giving their wisdom to younger generations. Now, based upon our priorities, we are spending our time on those basic activities. We can't do everything in our daily life. That includes we need to say no to other things so that our priorities will get most of our time, energy, attention, and resources in our daily life, so that we can complete the things which matters more. In our daily life, there will be a few instances where we are so selfless that we are disregarding our personal needs, wants, and our priorities. In that instance, we need to step back and consider our personal point of view so that we can take care of ourselves. That includes self care, and it is very important in the long run, because if we can't take care of ourselves, how we can take care of other people? Even if you are a parent, your first priority will be your child, and in that situation you will focus on doing everything that your child wants. However, you need to focus on living a long life, having a healthy body, and taking care of your small daily desires. Because if we do that small activities, we will get that stimulation and towards living a better and healthy life and creating a win-win situation in the long run. When we are focusing on some big goal in our life, we are setting those small goals, those small priorities, those small tasks we are doing every day. And after accomplishing that tasks, if we celebrate those tiny victories, then we can have a positive feeling, so that we can have the motivation and stimulation to focus on the bigger picture. And in other words, if we are not celebrating those small success and small wins, after a certain time we will get burned out and we can't move a single step, because there is no progress or there is no results coming in our way. or we think that we are not getting any results. Instead, we need to focus on celebrating those tiny victories so that we feel that we are regularly and constantly getting rewarded from our effort, which will motivate us to work even harder towards that long term goals. During difficult times, we need to have supportive people in our reach, and those supportive people will not come to us in our difficult times if we treat them in a bad way when we are in a good position. In other words, we need to invest in that relationships so that we can have a supportive community who can who will help us, and we need to invest it in a way that we are not expecting help from them when we are in a difficult situation. I mean, in other words, we need to give selfless service to other people when they are in need so that you have a positive effect in the society, and your good will come to you during your difficult situations. The people may feel inclined towards helping you. To have a good life, we need to focus on getting each and every day better. In other words, we need to have daily progress. And if we have a morning routine which we are following each and every day, then we can accomplish our most important activities in the morning when we have more energy, so that our days will be in a positive tone for the rest of the day, and that will give us positive momentum and motivation to completing other activities. And by having a predictive and habits about the morning routine, and we are following it consistently, then it will help us to move in a positive way in our long term life. Our success in our life will depend upon how we see ourselves, and that includes the way we speak with ourselves in our mind. In other words, we need to have a positive self talk, and we need to overcome that negative thoughts we are thinking about ourselves in our brain, and we need to constantly have affirmations and a positive tone about ourselves so that we have confidence in ourselves to get tasks done even if the situation is unfavorable. If we have a positive tasks and a positive belief about ourselves, and we think positively, even if the situation seems uncertain, by our positive thoughts we can focus on acting positively, which will impact our life in a positive way. In our present life, most of us are living in a digital world that includes the technology we use every day, like smartphones, laptops, and our digital infrastructure and environment also matters while we are considering the effects in our daily life. We can use the digital technologies we have either for good or bad, either for making our life better or worse. And starting with our smartphones, if we use the smartphones wisely, we can use them in a lot of ways to make our life better. However, if we are not using it and distracted from the a lot of things we can do from smartphone, then we are not using the device wisely. To use the smartphone wisely, we can be mindful about the time we are spending on the apps and in the phone. We can set app timers. We can set black and white mode to reduce the screen clutter. And by doing these productive activities, by organizing the apps in the display of your smartphone, and by doing the same thing to your laptop and other digital devices, you can have a free and a better digital infrastructure so that you can focus on what is truly important. To become a better person in our daily life, we need to learn something new every day, and that includes learning from the other people. They may be the people you are surrounded by, your parents, your siblings, your friends, your community members. They also they can also be celebrities or politicians and entrepreneurs. By learning from them and applying the positive habits they are doing, we can learn from them and emulate their behaviors in a positive way so that we can make ourselves in a better situation, and we can mold ourselves into becoming a better personality who is better than the previous version of you. Money is a very important thing in our daily life, and to have a abundance in money, we need to invest in financial literacy and financial education. That includes reading books on finance and money, watching videos on how to manage the money we have, budgeting, investing, about taxes. And if we have the knowledge about money, we can use our money wisely and we can grow our money. And in other words, we can have a abundance of money in our daily life. Money we can use to purchase things we need and to live a abundant life. And everything, when it comes to money, will start with our mindset and how we use the money we have right now. And by reading knowledge stuff about money and finances, we can make better decisions when it comes to money. In our daily life, to become a better version of ourselves in a specific field, we need to learn from other people. And that includes taking mentorships, courses from the other people, or even learning from them in a podcast or a video. And one of the way to learn from your ideal mentor is to take apprenticeship from them. That includes having a face-to-face conversation, working in real life scenarios, having exposure towards that certain field or industry, improving your connections, working on yourself, developing your skills, and spending most of your time on learning from your mentors and emulating their behaviors to match or improve yourself in that certain field. In our daily life, if we want to do something interesting and different, something we are not doing regularly, then being creative is an option. Because in our daily life, most of us are running about productivity and personal, or let's say professional development. And by being creative and spending at least is some amount of our weekly time on those creative activities, we can have a creative outlet like writing, painting, or any kind of musical instrument. Those creative outlets will be a way of expressing our inner thoughts and desires into the external world, so that we can have that creative outlet and we can have some colorful, or we can add colors in our daily life. To get anything accomplished in our daily life, we can focus on any kind of activity. However, if we are focusing on our strengths and we are building upon them, then we can perform the activity better, in a better way than the other people. Even if you are not considering other people and you're just considering yourself, if you are focusing on your strengths and the things you're really interested in, then you can deeply immerse yourself on the certain activities and you can make yourself better in that strength zone, so that when the time comes, you can perform in your best way possible. In our daily life, each and every person will make mistakes. And what separates winners from losers, or successful people from unsuccessful people, is how they handle their mistakes. And that includes receiving constructive criticism from other people and making changes in your daily life actions, behaviors, and how you do certain stuff. And by accepting and considering other people's criticisms, positive criticisms, then you can make a few changes here and there so that you can perform in a better way than the previous situation. In other words, you're leveling up your own game by listening to other people's positive criticism. Let's say there is a person who have everything, money, resources, wealth, each and everything materialistic in our daily life. That person has it. Now that person is very arrogant and behaves in a very arrogant way. Now consider another person who also have everything materialistically we want in our daily life. However, that other person is behaving in a humble way, respecting elders, asking polite questions, respecting waiters in the restaurant, respecting car drivers. And in these two instances, suddenly their wealth vanished overnight. And in these two instances, in what instance you want to be in? Because the person with arrogance is focused on his arrogance because he has something that the other person is not having. But even if that person has things, he behaves humbly, then those people and each and everyone will respect the other person, even if they are in not in a wealthy way. In the similar way, if we are humble towards other people in our daily interactions, then we gain respect from other people, irrelevant of our stature and our social standing in the long run. Life is seriously unpredictable, and in our unpredictable life, if we want everything to be predictable, then it is not possible. And to live a better life, we need to accept the fact that life changes. And in this constant changes, if we know how to handle the change and how to make progress in our daily life, then we can move towards a better situation in our life. What defines unsuccessful people from successful people is Successful people have a clearly defined goals in their daily life, goals they are working on each and every day of their lives. And if we want to live a better and abundant life, then we need to be clear about what do we want from our life, what do we truly care about, and focus on getting those things in a way that the other people will face or get profit from that endeavor, and the overall effect will be a positive one in the society, so that you and the other person involved in the situation will get out of the situation in a win-win way. Even if the situation is not supportive to you, even if your friends, family, and your own people are not supporting you, if you have the ability to motivate yourself and work on your main thing, then you can see substantial progress in your life. It may take time, but if you are working on something important for those specific months, weeks, and years, then you can see a tiny bit of change that will compound in the long run, and that change or progress will only come to you when you are not externally stimulated but internally motivated. In other words, even if the other people are not supporting your cause, you need to have the ability to work on yourself and what is meaningful to you, so that in the long run you will achieve your main goals in your life. To develop in our daily life, we need to have a mindset which is of curiosity about things happening in our daily life and our surroundings, so that we are curious and we are inclined to learn about things happening regularly. And if we are curious, we are learning new things, and that education and knowledge will help us to do certain things which is not possible when we are not curious. And by being curious in our life, we are opening those doors which will help us to move towards, say, life situation which is not possible when we are not curious. In other words, curiosity will help us to learn some new things and do some things in our daily life. In our work life, there are a lot of things happening, and we are responsible for things in our life. And even if we are working a lot of time, if we can't manage our stress levels, then we will eventually break down. And to overcome it, we need to have methods to manage our stress levels. Let's say those small actions you can do regularly when you are overstressed. Some of them are taking a deep breath and meditating a few minutes, walking for a certain time, spending time in nature. Doing those activities will help you to manage your stress levels, and you can also take if 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or small breaks in your work life, so that you can have the refreshing feeling when you are going to the work after you are taking the break. In our daily life, to have a calm mind and to be mindful about what we are doing, we need to have control over our thoughts. And it is literally impossible to monitor each and every thought we have. However, there are a few ways that will help us to make sure to live mindfully, and that includes taking or doing meditation every day. That includes a small 1-2 minutes meditation, 5, 10, 20 minutes meditation every day. And when we are doing meditation every day, we are experiencing that feeling and we are internally focusing on calming our minds, and that will directly impact our overall life in a positive way. To make a long-term progress in our life, we need to have short-term goals. And if we are achieving the short-term goals regularly, we are making progress towards our big goal. And that starts with setting realistic expectations from our goals. If we are not even achieving our daily goals, we are reducing our motivational levels and our confidence levels. Instead, we need to be realistic about our expectations and our daily expectations so that we are setting goals we can achieve. In other words, even if, let's say, you are potentially is 100%, even if you are going that 101, 105 percentage of achieving or setting that small goals, it will be all right. However, you need to limit yourself for not going to that 150, 200 of your level early on, because that will drastically impact your confidence levels because you're always falling short on your goals. And in most instances, setting a realistic goals is a good way to achieve progress in your life. In our long-term life, if we want to experience each and every area of our life, then we need to set clear priorities and we need to balance each and every area of our life. That includes our work and our life. We need to set specific amounts of time every day and every week on how much of our daily time we are spending on our work. How are we spending our time on our personal relationships, spending our time with our parents, children's, close friends, because we need to invest in that relationships regularly. Because if we are not investing in that relationships today or tomorrow, they will not be a relationship because you are not considering them, or they will think so. And to have a healthy life and to live a better life, you need to have the ability to manage both your work and your life in a better way possible. Let's say you are currently going through a life situation where everything is happening and you are forced to react, and instead of reacting, if you are taking a few steps backwards and calming yourself and thinking things rationally, instead of reacting to the situation, if you are proactive and deal with things in a positive way, then you can think or produce better results from the situation you are currently in. In other words, instead of reacting, you need to proactively respond to the situation you are in right now. To have a positive effect in the society we live in, we need to regularly practice acts of kindness, even if that acts of kindness is a tiny one. If we are regularly being kind to other people, then we are directly producing a better life situation for the people we are surrounded by. And that includes having a positive tone in the society. That's all for this video, everyone. If you found this video helpful, you can like, share, subscribe, and if you have something to say or any kind of suggestions, you can comment it down below. And see you next time. Thank you. Tata. Bye bye.